Do you realize that it is all about choosing like a buffet? In other words, you don't have to put things on your plate if you have already discovered that you don't like them. You can leave everything out of your experience that you don't like. But you have to understand how it is that you are choosing is different than those big spoons, isn't it? Where you just scoop it up and put it on. It's different when you realize that you are vibrational beings and that you are choosing vibrationally, which means you are choosing by your attention to something. You are literally creating your own life experience, and in very direct terms, you are constructing your life. You're constructing it thought by thought, word by word, mood by mood. In other words, as you observe and form an opinion, and the opinion makes you cranky, you're constructing pathways to things that when they get there, you're not going to like them. When you are observing and enjoying, when you are observing and appreciating, when you are taking pleasure from your focused attention, then that uplifted feeling that you find is your indication that what you are constructing is a pleasing thing. If you've been listening to us for a while, you've been hearing us say you are the creator of your own reality. But it's almost as if you don't believe that. Or you don't understand how it is that you create, because you're not always that deliberately focused and therefore deliberately constructing pathways to things wanted. And the reason for that, we understand, part of it is you need some experience in order to come to your focused conclusions about what you want to focus upon. Certainly, that's part of this diverse universe. You want choices in order to choose. But a lot of people talk and think and speak and read and blog and read and talk and speak and think and blog about a lot of things that they don't want. And it is as if they don't realize that they're constructing pathways. We're not kidding you. If you could see an aerial view where law of attraction is gathering the cooperative components, you would understand that a little bit of attention to a subject causes you to emit a signal that makes you part of the stream of consciousness relative to that. So not only do you contribute to this faster moving, more robust stream, but you make sure that you are constructing pathways that include you in an experiential way, in a manifestational way, in a real life experience way in the process of that. In other words, the manifestation will show you the pathways that you have carved out. So when we talk about deliberate creation, when we talk about the science of deliberate creation, when we talk about the powerful law of attraction, when we talk about the art of allowing, what we're talking about is you consciously recognizing that you are all day, every day, in every waking moment. Because in every waking moment, you are focused upon something. Whether you are pondering the past, you're still focused. Whether you're observing the present, you're still focused. Whether you are imagining into the future, wanted or unwanted, you're still focused. And in that focusing of your attention, you are constructing pathways. Pathways created by you and augmented and, in fact, completely enhanced and supported by the powerful law of attraction, who is bringing the cooperative components that represent what you have constructed every step along the way. Surely you've noticed that you can have something that's not that interesting to you that someone brings up over dinner, and as you have just the briefest of dinner time conversations about it, and it's therefore active in your vibration, it begins showing up. You begin noticing it. Suddenly, you're rendezvousing with the television when it's talking about it. Or you're rendezvousing with a headline on a newspaper that's talking about it. Or you're rendezvousing with someone else standing in line at the airport who is talking about it. In other words, you can't give much attention at all to a subject without activating it sufficiently enough in your vibration that you construct pathways. Now, sometimes the pathways that you're constructing aren't significant enough that it requires any of your attention. So you construct a pathway and more of it comes and you think it's interesting or a coincidence or maybe even lucky. You don't realize that it's the law of attraction's natural, efficient response to the vibrational frequency that you are practicing. So what happens with most of our physical human friends is that rather than practicing deliberately in an attitude of everything I think about or talk about, I'm constructing pathways that will end up in manifestation, instead of looking at it that way, most people just think and speak all over the place, talk about the wheel that is squeaking the loudest, or poke around at the problem that is troubling them the most. So many of you have magnificent lives with several factors that are just really wonderful and worthy of conversation. But the things that are working well often aren't the things that get your attention. Those things are working well. Why give them any attention? Let me talk about what isn't working. I would like to come to this gathering, sit in this hot seat, and talk about my issue. And we say, and construct a pathway for more deprivation of what you want, while you're constructing with a justifying. In other words, we get it. When you're not where you want to be, you want to know why, or you want to explain why. As you see other people looking at you, maybe thinking that they're thinking that you should be in a place different than you are, you sort of want to explain why you're there. And so a tremendous amount of your thought, of your construction process, is about explaining why you're standing where you're standing, which just makes sure that you keep standing there longer. Have you noticed? Different places, different faces, but the same old things keep showing up in your experience, not because you constructed a really hefty, hardy thought way or pathway and it's still proving itself to you, but because you keep constructing it. If you would stop today talking about those things that you've been worried about for years or weeks or days, or that thing that started bothering you yesterday, if you would today make a decision that you're not going to talk about it, that you're going to talk about something that is constructing a pathway towards something that you want instead, you know what would happen with that pathway that you've constructed? Even if you'd constructed it for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, do you know what would happen with that pathway? It would peter out within 30 days. It would peter out and it would cease to exist. Your point of attraction would no longer be connected to this unwanted thing if you would stop renewing your vibrational connection to it. But most people, because they don't understand law of attraction, they don't even know they're vibrational beings, they don't even know they're emitting a signal, and they certainly don't know that law of attraction is responding to the signal. So they're just out there flowing and blowing all over the place, all kinds of construction of all kinds of things. And then when something unwanted shows up, they go, who knew? It just came out of the blue, they explain. And we say, it did not come out of the blue. It may have come out of the oblivious, but it didn't come out of the blue. It came out of the vibrational construction. So we've been talking to you, if you've been listening to us for a while, we've been talking to you endlessly about ways that you can focus toward what you want. Now, we know that sometimes it's not very meaty or interesting to think about what you want when what you don't want is so vivid. But we want to demonstrate here at the beginning of this gathering in a way that you will really understand. It will help you to understand everything that unfolds later. It will help you understand many of the conversations that we're going to have today with people who are sitting in the hot seat. We want you to understand how this powerful law of attraction and this construction of thought works. So it's easy to understand that there are things that you don't want, and it's relatively easy to understand that the clearer you are about what you don't want, the clearer you are about what you do want. But the thing that is tricky is that if you have been over time, or even over a brief amount of time intensely, if you've been specifically, and intensity and specificity are the same things. In other words, the more attention you give, the more specific you get. And the more specific you are, then the more powerful your point of attraction is. So if you've been, let's say that someone did something that bothered you, and you noticed it, it bothered you, you took the hit, you didn't like it, but you didn't leave it there. You thought about it longer. In fact, you stewed over it. You brooded over it. You pondered it. You seethed over it. You thought about it. You felt the offness of it initially. You felt the I don't want thisness of it, but you didn't leave it there. because you have forgotten how powerful you are and you've forgotten about the construction of these pathways. So you thought about it and you stewed about it. And as you stewed about it, the first thing that happened is every other thing that that person has ever done that's sort of like that begins to come to your mind, because law of attraction is gathering up all the cooperative components. So everything they've ever done that was ever even a little bit like that come to your mind, and now you're justified. You explain to yourself and some innocent bystander that walks into your experience, I'm not making this stuff up. You say, I'm not making this up. And then the next thing that happens is law of attraction reaches further than just in your thought ways. It reaches out into the environment that surrounds you and brings to you the cooperative components of other people who have that same issue active in their vibration. And now you've got a real festival going. Now you're having conversations. So now what we're getting at is something that started out maybe sort of general has now become more and more and more and more and more and more and more specific. And it's gathering power, not because it in and of itself is a powerful thing, but by your attention to it. When we say something gathers power, what we're really talking about is the construction of thought waves power, because there are a lot of things that are powerful out there that if they're not active in your vibration, they're not going to show themselves to you at all. And so it doesn't matter how powerful they are. There's no law of assertion in this universe. Nothing can come after you. You got to be a cooperative component to each and everything that comes into your experience every single time. And if it's not active in your vibration, doesn't matter how big and bad and awful it seems to others who are engaged in it, it will not touch you in any way. It's law. Law of attraction will not bring it to you.